today at the Real Estate Roadmap New Construction Seminar. And we are from the Onyx group at Coldwell Banker.
Yeah.
And we're here to help you guys understand the ins and outs of new construction process. So we're excited to have some of our top experts from the area and in the field here with us tonight.
Yes,
thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, so speaking this evening is going to be myself, Alex Raporto Pouliot.
I'm Lisa Gibbons.
I'm Amelia Zelog.
And we do have the rest of our, and our guest speakers tonight. The amazing Parker Leclerc. Parker's back there. There you are. And then we have Rebecca Deseral. Yes. And her husband Matt is right. Whoop, there he is. And then Zach Saunders with Fairway Independent Mortgage. Aaliyah LeBlanc. Okay. Yep. With the title team. I didn't see behind the camera. And then Mike Lopez with Comparion Insurance right over here.
Thank
you guys. Thank you so much for coming. And just give a quick little rundown. We do have some others on our team here other than us three.
Yeah.
We have Tia, which is our administrative assistant. We have Nikki Bienvenu, another agent licensed in New Hampshire. Bailey Denton, licensed in New Hampshire. Cass Luna, licensed in Massachusetts and Maine, as well as myself. I also do Mass.
Maine. Yeah.
Maine.
Just kidding.
That's on my radar for 2025. Sorry, Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Surprise.
And Mike Holloway, who's also licensed in New Hampshire. So, all right, Lisa, you're going to kick it off for us.
I am going to kick it off for you guys. So as you're all standing here, you're probably wondering, why new construction? Why is new construction a good option for you? There's lots to think about. There's so many layers. There's tons of details. So first and foremost, most people are going into new construction because they don't have to worry about maintenance, right? They don't have to think about what they're going to need to be doing within the next 10 years in order to move their property into a better condition. It's in prime condition. There's full customization options, and as Parker's going to explain today, he also has some really great semi-custom programs, which allows for the financial piece of the transaction to be a little more streamlined and a little more easy on the eyes. Obviously, the other option, the other why is, as we're getting into the home ownership, we'll understand value becomes a huge asset. So we want to know that we're building equity inside of our home. We're gaining value in the long run and over the long term, and that's exactly what you're doing with new construction. So here are some steps. These are pretty vague steps. First things first, you're going to talk to one of us. Anyone from the Onyx Real Estate Group can help you get started. We've lined up an amazing expert, amazing crew who can get you from start to finish, and we're going to be there along the way to hold your hand. So it starts with meeting with us, sitting down with us and coming up with a plan. We'll then introduce you over to Zach, who's our lender. He's going to be able to guide you through the loan process so that you can understand what does that look like, right? Do I look for land first? Am I looking for a builder? Like where do I go with this process? Next up, and the big focus is going to be securing that loan, so that you can, here it goes. The next process is going to be finding that right piece of land, right? What does that look like? And making sure your builder can come with you, right, Parker? To make sure that build looks good, right? That land looks good. He knows all the policies, procedures through the towns and the cities and what the permitting process is going to look like. So he's going to be there to help guide you through that process along with us. Then there's the design with Rebecca. Rebecca's here today as well. She's going to help make that home of yours be exactly what you're looking for. All right, you're customizing and or doing that semi-custom program. You want it to be exactly the perfect fit for you. We've got permits and approvals and the fun stuff. We've got that construction process that starts to happen when you finally see those walls come up and you're like, all right, something's happening here. Perfect. Then we've got that final walkthrough, that punch list item for the builder, and then we'll bring it all down to closing with the title team, and then Mike's here to cover any insurance questions that you guys have, because you're going to need it from start to finish. Understanding financing for new construction, right? That's definitely a big Zach guide for you guys. So what we really want to make sure is happening through the process is that you understand, am I buying land first? Can I buy land can I buy cash? the land and then finance the construction? Can I finance the whole entire thing? What does that look like? What is the lender going to allow? Bum, bum, bum.
So much.
Choosing the right builder is going to be the most important part of this process, apart from choosing your land, right? Because you can't change where you build it. So partnering with a builder who provides clear communication, he has design input and feedback, it's crucial to the success of your build. So when we say research builder reputation, experience, and warranties, or you could just stick with your realtor's recommendation, which is going to be Zach. And also questions to ask during the builder interviews. So does it align with your plans? You know, what does the timeline look like? How to redesign options work. So upgrading to like premium flooring, what does that look like? And how do payouts work? So is there a down payment at the very beginning? When does that come through? Okay. And then, so what to expect during construction? We're doing our best, okay? Mom brain, 3 months. All right. So phase 1 is going to be site prep. So the foundation, you know, what direction do you want the house to be in? Do you want it to be facing the road? Do you want it to be kitty-cornered a little bit and have that driveway come down? Do you want to design a pool someday? You can't have the septic in the middle of your yard if you're going to want to have a pool someday. All things to think about. And then framing. So how big do you want the rooms to be? Do you want a huge, great room for all of your entertaining? Do you want nice big bedrooms? Lots of things to think about and to plan for the final outcome to make it what you want. And then the interior finishes. So paint choices, hardware, trim, flooring, door styles, appliances, all the fun stuff. Which leads me to the next slide, which is customization and design options. So like, if you had to pick any color for your kitchen, what would it be? Come on, guys, I know.
Yellow.
Yellow, perfect. Okay, yellow. That makes you hungry, right? There's some study that says that like yellow makes you hungry or something. That's why McDonald's is yellow.
Sunshine.
Yes, sunshine. Perfect. Okay, so you can have your yellow kitchen, and then if you want under cabinet lighting, things like that. Who here is a hardwood person? Raise your hand. Okay, who here is a carpet person? Everybody has to fight Mike now. Okay, so those are the choices that you get to make, and if you were in a house that was already built and you weren't a carpet person, then you would have to rip up those carpets and potentially unveil some sort of another project, and you're paying backwards at this point because you have to fix something. So that's one of the most amazing parts about starting from scratch, is you don't have to do those things. So yeah.
Okay.
Take it away, Alex.
All right, so we got some facts and fiction. Who here, by a show of hands, has thought that when you do new construction build that you're going to spend more money than a pre-existing constructed house? Yeah? Yeah. That was really my perception too. But realistically, that is not always the case. New construction offers much better efficiency. You also have warranties with the builder. So, you know, even if you have anything that happens within however long the timeline is, you have that warranty in place. Also, you're building from scratch, right? So everything is new. The roof is new, the windows are new, all the heating systems, all that stuff, everything is new. So it's going to take a lot longer to be able to, you know, in order to have to replace those items. And then fiction, it takes years to complete. That is not always true. It takes as much time as you put into it, and having the right builder on your side, and making sure that the timeline is always being followed. That is what communication is very important with, you know, to have communication. Okay, we're gonna go to avoiding common pitfalls. So budgeting for unexpected costs. You know, how you can budget for unexpected costs. Clear communication, like I just mentioned, with your lender is huge. With the builder, you want to have them provide you with a breakdown of expenses, and typically you want to see this during the design stage, so that way you're not surprised by the amount later in the design. Things in the design stage have potential to be misunderstood, so make sure you have things in writing. Again, it's a lot about communication. Coming back again to finding the builder with the communication skills is very important to avoid any hiccups along the way. and closing and moving in. Yay, the fun stuff. It's finally the day. So like Lisa had mentioned before, you know, the final walkthrough is very important to finish the punch list items. So whatever that may be, just making sure that we punch list those and get those done. The CO, the certificate of occupancy from the town, you need that to be able to move in. And then obviously it's closing time. Once you set up the utilities and close with the title team, it will be officially yours to move into. And I'm going to segue into the awesome Zach Saunders, who is going to share from Fairway Mortgage about the lending process.
I don't want to brag, but it's my clicker the whole time, guys. They've been clicking through the slides. It's been really nice to watch. All right, so my name is Zach Saunders. I am a senior loan officer for Fairway Independent Mortgage. I'm also the sales manager for Northern New England for Fairway. My background is I did exclusively residential new construction, and in the early part of my career, I was the construction manager for a company that no longer exists called National City Bank. And I did a ton of new construction. So I wanted to run through a little less on the financing side because that's going to be more situational, but a little more on kind of like the expectations and just thought process as you're going into the buying buying of new construction. So that's me again. Okay, my goal when it comes time to sitting down with potential buyers as well as with real estate agents that have listings for new construction is to kind of gain clarity and focus on the process as a whole. One of the big cultural components to my team is that we really function more as educators and guides and less as salespeople. So this was the graphic my lovely wife picked out that said there's clarity in the forest through the trees. I don't know. Okay, so you basically have three paths to new construction, right? Either you own land, or you find a builder that has land, or you find land and a builder. So taking these as kind of three independent paths. Your first path is you've got the land already, right? You might have inherited it, maybe you purchased it. A lot of times lately what we're seeing is someone who has a larger parcel of land keeps the house and some of the land and then gives you the other part of the land. So now you're left with this conundrum of what do we do now? We have land, we like it, we want to build. So we set these up primarily as a refinance transaction. Now for you guys, that doesn't mean a whole lot outside of the fact that you get to use the equity as part of your down payment. Meaning if the land is worth, let's just say $100,000, it means you now have $100,000 in cash essentially to play with as down payment, closing costs, things of that nature. So it streamlines the process for you quite a bit. It also really reduces your out-of-pocket expenses. So if possible, inherit some land. If you can't inherit, if you can't inherit some land, you know, then maybe buy some land. No, but so we'll go through and buy some land. If you guys have specific questions about land loans, a great resource for you on land loans is actually sitting right here in the room with us, Shannon, who's not on our panel, but her company has an amazing program for land purchases. So give some thought to that if you are looking at raw land. The other thing to kind of bear in mind here, if you already own the land, is your time frame can be super flexible, which affords you probably your biggest advocate or asset when it comes to any real estate transaction, which is time. Being able to make unrushed decisions and being able to really think things through and sit on it for a moment before you decide to do something. And then last but not least, you know, the land is going to have a big impact on how you build, where you build, and what you build. So this path out of the three is probably the one that has the most sort of predefined aspects to it, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Your next path is right here. You shop for a builder with land. So very often you'll have builders that will have tracts of land. You know, maybe it's a small development or they've got 3 or 4 parcels or things of that nature. They generally have a lot of the things like site work done, engineering might be done, meaning like where the septic system goes, things of that nature. So excuse me, this path really kind of affords you a lot of the, we'll say like more templated aspects of the new construction build. So you get to really focus on just the house itself, which may be a good thing or maybe a bad thing. You may walk into this situation and say, you know, we really wanted a pool, but the land doesn't allow us to have a pool, things of that nature. And price generally is kind of established subject to like upgrades and stuff. So as Parker will talk a lot about with a semi-custom home, a lot of that sort of pre-put together package idea, that has a lot of things that are sort of like pre-established, and then you have the ability to either upgrade or downgrade things based on kind of how your budget allows. Last path, this is my absolute favorite, is you find a builder first and then you find land. So this one has a bunch of really neat kind of like key points to it, but I really wanted to walk you guys through this as I would say probably your primary focus, if you can do it this way, to try to do it this way. It affords an awful lot of opportunities for you, not the least of which is you get to spend some quality time with not just your realtor, but also with Parker, for example, who can help you walk some of the land you're looking at. So your plans of what this house might look like are going to be determined, at least in some part, by the land on which you're going to build. Parker may be able to tell you as far as, hey, if we were to shift the house, or if you did this, or if you reverse the floor plan, or, if we did certain things, it'll fit better in the space or make it more livable, which is really great. The other advantage to having a builder first is we get to pre-vet the builder, and we get to pre-vet a kind of general idea of plans, so that your pre-approval, meaning the confidence with which you can move forward, is based on conversations with the builder, conversations with your agent, and conversations about your budget for both land and the new construction. It allows us to really formulate a very clear picture, like the glasses on the first slide, I'm getting it now, a very clear picture of what things will look like at the finish line for you before a shovel has even hit the ground. The other big advantage of doing this is on the lending side, you get to do things like what are called forward commitments, which is where we can guarantee an interest rate ahead of time, regardless of what happens in the market, because of our relationship with a builder like Parker. The other thing it allows you to do is really, like I said, ultimately kind of put together what that's going to look like at the finish line on day one, so that you're not worried about, we have this house we love, now we need to try to find land that works, or we found land that we love, now we need to try to find a house that works. You can really marry the two together and take the best parts of both aspects of both the land and the home itself, marry them together into a common vision, and really execute that plan to a very successful point. I think that's my last slide.
Awesome.
Oh, no, I got one more. So it's almost like I put these together myself. All right, regardless of how you start in all this, whether you own the land, you find a builder, you find land, you find a builder with land, no matter how you start, it all sort of jumps into the mortgage process. The mortgage process for new construction is going to feel very familiar in some ways and very nerve-wracking initially in other ways. Because new construction has not only the purchase components, but also the build, the fit up, the fixture, the additions, the subtractions, the other things you're adding to it, it can feel a little overwhelming in the beginning. If you're looking for a takeaway from my little piece here, it's this. Partnering with a good lender, whether it's myself or somebody else in the area that does a good job with these, is critical to your success for two primary reasons. One is your excitement on day one can very quickly turn to tears on day 20. If your builder does not set expectations with you, both from like a budgeting standpoint as well as a what you can actually do standpoint. And number two is, unless you are a professional builder, this is probably the first, maybe the second home you ever built. We do this all the time. So we know the things that you haven't thought to ask, and we see the things that you're not even sure what questions to begin with, and we can discuss those before they come up as an oops, and instead they become part of our planning instead of part of our reacting to. So a good lender is critical to your success. Oh my God, no. That's my last slide. Okay. The building process gets a little crazy sometimes. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. A good team behind you means this is the mantra that you will be able to operate under. If you piece together a team that doesn't have a lot of good communication, you're going to find yourself trying to do damage control on expectations, both with yourself and with your team. It's really important that you have a team that talks to each other, even when you're not in that conversation, so that when you pop in, anything that could have been a problem has already been solved, and we're already executing Plan B. So that, I promise, is my last slide. Okay.
Thank you so much.
And this is Rebecca, and we're going to kind of take you through the process of construction from our point of view, from design to finish, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So as Lisa had mentioned, we have a semi-custom home program, but we were going to start off with the full-on custom home program. If you're looking to find land, start from scratch. Can talk a little bit about that. So as Lisa mentioned, I am Rebecca Desrio. I'm a licensed architect. My husband Matt is also a licensed architect over there. We both are part of our company, MBNet Design, and we do anything from renovations, additions, and new build construction. So to go into this, we kind of have a two-part, portion of new construction in that design process. We have a schematic design, and then we have final design. And when you start with schematic design, you start with the programming phase. That's where we ask you how many bedrooms you want, bathrooms, style, exterior style, interior style. We ask too many questions, and as many questions as you can think of, because there are a lot that go into a new custom home. And once we get all of that information from you and kind of put it together, we know all your project goals, and we can start to create a schematic design for you. We have 3D modeling software that allows us to show you the ins and outs of the exterior, the interior, kind of exactly what you're going to get from a floor plan and a spatial standpoint. And then that second part, once that process is kind of approved and a design is approved, what we call final design is more of the execution of the very technical drawings. Those are there to address code, assemblies, kind of all of the details that someone like Parker needs for permitting and for building. With this process, I cannot give you a schedule. It's kind of more, based on scale, complexity of the home that you're trying to build, something that we can always talk about afterwards. But with these drawings at the ends, they're able to go to Parker to get a permit and to get built.
Absolutely. And typically when Rebecca and I work together, I'm involved in this part of the design process as well, because when we're getting into the kind of the nitty-gritty and construction drawings, if there are things that from a constructability standpoint might work better, we work together to move things around to make things either more cost efficient, easier, or better for the overall building itself.
Yep.
Can I ask
So-
a quick question?
Yep.
When would Rebecca get involved in the process of the construction build? Have you already found land at that point?
It's dependent. If you already have a piece, that's kind of cool because you can design you can design the house for the property.
Yeah.
So say you have a place on a lake, or you have a piece of property on a lake, you definitely want to design that structure to take advantage of everything that piece of property has to offer.
Yeah.
And Rebecca and Matt can do that for you. However, if you're building a house in a residential neighborhood, in a development, we don't necessarily need to design as much with the property as something special like that.
I'd say too, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Getting ideas down on paper can help you with everything. You might have a vision, and then getting it down on paper, or maybe you come to me with a floor plan. You can come to me with a floor plan, and I can draw that up, and we can figure out that might not be the style at some point that you're looking for, and we will make sure that by the end of it you will have the product that you want and that you're looking for. I would say that we design, but we're also advisors. We can help you throughout that whole process, making sure that we get the right engineers and the right pieces involved too. Being there at the start is probably the best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yep, the earlier the better too, because in order for me as a builder to build the budget, we need to have as tight of a design done as possible.
Yeah, that's a huge piece, Margaret. That's really like the answer to my question I was looking for, because how do you know what it even costs if you don't have a design to know what you can afford?
Right, exactly, and the more detailed the design and the design set is, the better for me, because a house is a box, and you can put as much or as little in the box as possible. You can build a 2,000 square foot house for X amount, but you can also build it for twice as much if you're finishing it with extremely high-end finishes and extremely detailed millwork, et cetera, et cetera. So the tighter and the more detailed the design set, and the closer we are to where we want to be at the end on paper, the better.
And tell me if I'm wrong, Parker, but in that instance where you would have somebody like a Rebecca helping you, if you're then going to look for land, you now know really what you need for land if you want to build that house.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
If you haven't picked that out yet.
And you can also split the difference too. So if you can say, okay, well, this is the general concept of what I'd like to do. And you can really build most of the design, and then if you find that piece of property on the lake or on a mountaintop, and then you find it, you survey it, you say, okay, well, this is where we want to orient the house, and then you can go back and say, well, you know, if we just moved a couple things around, it would really accentuate what we're trying to do here. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Thank you, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
that's
No,
great.
that's great. Yeah, absolutely. So once we have that really tight set of design drawings, then we go into pre-construction. And this is what a typical custom pre-construction process looks like. We have the piece of property, we have the drawings, we typically need to get surveys to determine if there's wetlands on the property, where the property lot lines are, where our setbacks are, if we need to grab variances from the town, all of those administrative things. Then we go on to site planning. This kind of overlaps, and then during that site plan we can also start to bid the project. The structure is a large piece of the project, but depending on the site work can be also a large piece of the project. So, you know, if you're in a large piece of property, you're putting in your house, you know, 700 feet from the road, and you're on a cliff, then it's going to be a very different site work line item than in a pretty developed subdivision that's already set up. And then after we have all that set up, we go to permitting and financing with Zach, and we go from there. And then we go to actual construction. So typically, once we have the bid built, what I like to do, and a lot of good builders will do too, is you'll have a pretty clearly defined scope of work. So you'll have a lot of your finishes chosen, you'll have as much detail as possible so you know what your budget is, and you can execute. And you can plan and do our best to get this project done in a timely manner. Typically, a new construction project can last from as little as 6 months if it's fast, to 18 months if you're building a really big, really complex house. So it really depends on, as far as time frame, what we're doing. There's no box that we can say, oh, well, you know, it takes 8 months to build a house. It's always flexible. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is different than what we had. That's okay.
So that was more of our custom home program. Going into the semi-custom home program is something that we've been working on for a little while.
Yeah, about a year now.
Yeah.
Yep.
We started developing pre-completed designs for the aspect of, as Parker was saying, it's a box. However, you can do whatever you'd like with that box. But what we started to do was develop through, different designs that I've been working on, design trends, what can we get in a single, we have two design plans. We have one that's a single level and then a 2-story level. The single level has 2 bedrooms and the 2-story has 3 bedrooms, right?
Yes,
3 bedrooms.
2.5 back.
Yes.
Yep.
So as you'll see in the next slides.
Yeah, sorry, it's throwing us
Yeah.
off because our pictures are.
Yeah, that's
So what we've done to kind of expand on Rebecca there is we've taken what we see as the need for buyers in New Hampshire, whether you're looking to downsize, young families looking to get into a home. We tried to get a lot of those requirements in these designs, and the idea is that they're pre-designed but customizable. Mm-hmm. We have Rebecca right here. If you like the floor plan but you go, it'd be kind of nice if it was a little bit different, then we can make it a little bit different, or we can make it a lot bit different. But the beauty of it is we already have, as designed, pre-bid for the structure. So we know exactly what it's going to cost going in, except for the site work. So depending on your lot. But it gives a lot of clarity going into the process. It saves a ton of time, 3 to 6 months. And we can make it how you want it without an extended lead time and really streamline the process.
And essentially starting from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. So this is our one-story concept here, and it's essentially a 2-bedroom, 2-bath ranch, completely single-level living, and this is all pre-priced, and we can go over that later individually as well. We tried to make it open concept, very livable, and easily expandable. So if you say, okay, well, I like the 2-bedroom, I like the single-level living, but can we add another bedroom? Can we add office space? We can do that too. And then this is our 2-story concept here. It's a 3-bedroom, completely first floor living if you'd like to. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and again, open concept living, completely pre-priced, ready to go, which takes a lot of the pre-construction process out of it, which is very nice.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
I've heard, and correct me if I'm, is it ranches versus a colonial? Is it true that like single level living is typically more expensive than building a colonial due to the footprint?
If you break it down to a per square foot price, then typically yes.
Single level.
Single level, yeah.
Which most people would think that's not. Most people would think the bigger the home, the more it would cost.
But it also depends, because if you're building a 5,000 square foot ranch, then things change a little bit because your footprint gets a lot bigger. It really depends on, as a whole, yes, but it's very dependent on design as well.
I built a ranch, and it was because, you know, it's like close to 2,500 square feet and all that, think of that back.
And these are things we can go over, but this is our general base build finishes for the program. I know I'm running out of time. And then we can do all kinds of semi-custom upgrades and changes to these floor plans and the site as well.
Right.
And so that's us.
Company of you for, you know, speaking about a new construction where you're like, we haven't picked up land or anything like that. But honestly, guys, from the closing piece of things in regards to new construction, there's just a couple things that I'd like to talk about that you want to be aware of. So what do we do in the process? So as a title company, we do what's called a title search. So we literally are going through the registry records, like the ultimate most boring thing you can possibly think of. But a title is not on a home, is nothing like a title to a car. So a lot of people will say, well, I bought my house cash, so when I did, are you gonna hand me the title of my house like I own it free and clear? It's not like that with a home purchase. Think of a title as a home as like links in a chain, right? So it's like, I bought a house from Parker LeClaire, right? So there's a deed from Parker to Aaliyah LeBlanc, and then there is a mortgage from Zach, you know, issuing that mortgage to Aaliyah. So it's literally showing the chain of events that go on of what's recorded at the registry. And our company's job is to make sure that whenever a new buyer takes ownership of a property, there's no outstanding liabilities or anything that the seller should have been responsible for paying. So our piece is incredibly boring, but it's incredibly important, because if you buy a house and you're not working with a reputable builder, and right before closing, this actually happened to me one time. I had a real sketchy builder who at the closing kept pressuring me, where's my check, let's get this to record. Which kind of perked my ears up a little bit. I went on the registry and realized that a $12,000 lien was recorded the day of closing for lumber because he had never paid a contractor. That $12,000 would have had the builder bring a check to closing. So he was basically trying to get that lien to be under my new buyers. So these are like things that as a buyer you are not supposed to know, but you need to have a company that you feel comfortable in making sure that the biggest investment of your life is protected, which is literally your home purchase. So what we do is we fix any title issues. If anything is existing on record, we make sure when you take ownership, nothing is outstanding so that you have what's called clean title or clear title. And that's literally our entire job. So we issue title insurance. So if for any reason, you know, there was any clouds in the title that were unforeseen through the registry research, you have an insurance policy that covers and protects you.
We also pay everyone. So our company and companies like ours and this is like not to scare you, but we're one of the most targeted companies in the world for things like wire fraud, because we have millions and millions of dollars coming in and out of our escrow account. None of that money is our money. It's all the money of who's involved in the transaction. So working with a company that you trust to handle the financials is super, super important, whether it be cash or finance. And then we record everything. So when you do get that new deed from the builder, we put that on record, meaning that we record it through the registry of deeds, adding to that chain of title I was talking about. And my piece is when you sign all the paperwork and you actually get your keys. So I hate to say it, but like, I love the part of our process because it's literally like a celebration, right? It's like the best part of the thing. You're like, yeah, I don't care that, like, you know, I haven't been able to move in for 8 months because there's been flooding and whatever, but I got my keys today. So it's usually an exciting thing. So what I want to talk about in regards to new construction with closing, probably the biggest piece to not bore the crap out of you is things like taxes. So taxes with new construction, especially when you're budgeting, can be kind of tough to figure out, right? Because if you're buying a property, it's super tough to know what the town is going to assess that property as in terms of an assessed value. So how do we do that when you're buying a new construction property? The calculation is basically we take the purchase price times the tax rate, and each town has what's called an equalization ratio, which is the percentage of how they calculate taxes, and we would use that amount to give that figure to the lender. So why I bring that up to you guys is because if you're ever shopping around, or if you've gone the route of not new construction prior to coming to a seminar like this, you know that your taxes in New Hampshire drastically change your monthly mortgage payment depending upon where you're looking. Whether you're looking at a property in, you know, Moultonborough, New Hampshire versus a property in Bedford, New Hampshire, it could be the same purchase price, but the taxes could literally be double, which means that your monthly payment is obviously skewed in that way. So when you're budgeting for things, guys, especially with new construction, that tax picture is one of the biggest pieces to just try to understand and figure out what are you going to use for a figure. Now, the other thing about that is we're literally guessing, right, what the town is going to assess. So it's possible that that is a wrong guess, right? That estimation is incorrect. So we obviously notify everyone of that, but in new construction with closings, that's probably the biggest piece that we see. Second to that would be closing date. Closing date on new construction is super fluid. So let's say, for example, you're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna buy this new construction house. My builder tells me it's gonna be done in June. Great, right? Our closing day is June 1st. But we have no idea if we're gonna have heavy rain and we're not gonna be able to complete that driveway, or any of the, you know, landscaping is gonna be able to be done, or they're gonna be able to finish things, or things are gonna be back ordered. So I just always tell buyers to try to plan as much as you possibly can for delays in new construction. And we've talked about this 700 times in this seminar, but choosing your builder is probably the most #1 thing that we see. But right next to that is your lender. What we see all the time in terms of like the closing piece, because you have to understand we're the last piece of the puzzle, right? So we get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and we actually get to see, and please excuse my language, who absolutely sucks at their job. And like truly, like we get to see, oh my God, every time we have a closing with this guy, it's a nightmare, we don't have what we need. So working with the right lender and a builder who's actually going to be able to construct the project on the timeline and communicate with all parties is so essential, because what are you going to do if you are a family with young kids and you have nowhere to go and nowhere to live because you thought your house was going to be done in June? So planning for that, guys, is vitally important. We also issue the final cash to close figure. So we actually are saying, hey, you're going to bring this amount to us to actually buy the property, and you literally are paying the title team or any closing company that you work with, and we take care of dispersing to everyone. So honestly, guys, like the biggest thing that I can say is that where I sit in the, you know, closings that we do, there are so many choices out there for who you can work with. But what I can tell you is that I've done a boatload of new construction, existing construction with this team and this set of mortgage people.
they are the people to work with if you are looking for anyone, because as we've talked about, the communication is number one, and none of these people in this room suck at their job. So again, that's really what we do and what we're involved with.
Comparian insurance, a little bit about Comparian is, it used to be Liberty Mutual, and then about 2 or 3 years ago, Liberty shifted all their agents over to a new company called Comparian, and now we sell everybody except Liberty Mutual. But we have Safeco, which is Liberty Mutual company, but we have everybody. So, you're thinking about buying a new home, you're building it, you come to this seminar, and obviously the thing you want to learn about the most is insurance. It's the real reason why everybody came, is how do I insure this thing? So, why do you even want homeowners insurance? This is just a general question. Obviously we do auto, home, umbrella, all that stuff, but for this focus we're just going to talk about the home. Homeowners insurance protection covers dwellings as well as your personal property, and then your liability, which we'll talk about in a little bit. When you're getting a home, it's often, I don't want to say it's often, it's always required if you have a mortgage. You have a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance, end of story. If you don't, you can't get the loan, they're not going to lend it to you. But even if you don't have a loan, it's probably a pretty good idea anyway. And lastly, peace of mind. It ensures financial protection against unforeseen events, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. And so why are we talking about it right now? Again, it's probably required. When I say it's probably required, it's probably going to be required for you to have a homeowner's insurance policy on the home that's not even built yet. So if I'm a lender, I'm going to take a look at you. I'm going to look at your, how much money you have in cash flow, make sure everything is going to be paid, and then I'm going to make sure that you're going to protect the asset that we're about to give you money for. This presentation is actually mostly about that one concept, is why do I have to have it while I'm building a house? The second reason is it's so much more cost effective to get the policy first, and I'll tell you why. And then the last one is it's your house even while it's being built. So all the stuff that is going to turn into the house, the lumber, the nails, the siding, the shingles, that's all yours. You own it, and if somebody takes it, that's your stuff that they take. So you want to cover it. Do I have a question?
No, that was good.
Darn, I was hoping for a question. All right, so let's talk about it's probably required. So for any new home construction loan, lenders typically fully required. We just talked about this. But you're going to need what's called a builder's risk endorsement. Some companies call it something else. Sometimes they call it theft of building materials. Let's talk about what a builder's risk endorsement is, because this is what you actually need and the whole reason why you need a policy while it's being built. So a builder's risk endorsement is a temporary endorsement applied to a homeowner's insurance policy that provides extended coverage specifically while it's being built. The minute the home is built, the endorsement ends, it goes away. So it's only while the home's being built. And then you no longer pay for the endorsement, it just falls off right when the house is completed. The coverages are not always coverages that are on a regular enforced policy, meaning if you just have a homeowner's policy and you don't add the endorsement, the stuff isn't going to be covered. So you need the endorsement, and if you don't have the endorsement, you're not going to get lending, so you're not going to be able to buy the house.
Because no one wants to steal the wood from an existing built home.
An unexisting built home.
No, an existing built. You can't like pull the tubifers.
No, you could if you're creative. But so when your home is being built, the materials is considered your personal property, which your homeowner's insurance covers.
Oh, gotcha.
So your homeowner's insurance covers. Let me go back a couple slides.
Yeah, what you're saying is before it's built, it's best not to steal it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying it's important to cover. Exactly.
Gotcha.
So right when it's being built, they dump all the stuff on your property. They don't dump it all at once. Well, do they, Parker? I don't know. Parker's like, actually, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. They'll put it all there so it can be built by the builder, and then anybody can just come and take the stuff. It's not always super secure, but it's kind of noticeable when somebody's walking down the street with a 2x4. But if somebody, we've all seen that big pile of gravel on the side of the highway and said, ooh, I could maybe take a cup of that and put it in my garden. No? It's not me? Okay, all right, never mind. Sorry, you
Did
got
it
a
last week.
Does this cover like a liability, so if they're building and someone gets hurt, would
Yeah.
that cover that?
Yep, absolutely. Actually, that's my, well, it's one of these slides, but yes. I'll go back for just one sec. Am I going the wrong way?
Yeah,
No, I'm going
forward.
Okay.
Next.
Yes, I just want to make sure. Okay. Second, coverages are units. I'm going to get to that, but yes, you're absolutely spot on. Coverages that are universally covered with every carrier. So the stuff on the left is covered on every builder's risk policy. The stuff on the right is stuff that one carrier might have that another doesn't. So theft of building materials is always included in every endorsement. That's the whole point of the endorsement. The house or the structure itself, as it's being built, the frame goes up. There's no anything else. Wind comes, blows it down. The whole big bad wolf situation, that's covered. That's a regular home claim, and that would be covered. Stuff that isn't always covered but varies is debris removal. It's pretty important. That's an expensive cost if your home gets destroyed by a peril, and then all the stuff is still sitting there, and they can't do construction again and rebuild it until you move the stuff. If you don't have it, then you're gonna have to pay that out of pocket. Property in transit, so when it's being transferred from one place to another, you probably want that covered. If it falls off the truck, it's your property. And then what's called soft costs, which are additional interest on financing, real estate taxes, architectural fees, and permit fees. Like 4 of those things were all buzzwords of people that you just heard from. Great plug there. But this also, basically, not every company, again, does the soft costs, but if you can find one that has it, you want that, because you don't know what will come up. And then lastly, liability. So right where you were thinking on the left side, builder's risk is meant to only cover yours and the mortgage's investment in the building and the building materials and other property-based assets. On the right side, the contractor, when hiring somebody to build your house, make sure it's a reputable company like LeClaire & Sons. They carry their own builder's risk insurance and builder's insurance. A lot of people misunderstand builder's risk. They think it's insurance for the builder. It's not. It's your own insurance to protect your stuff. The builder insures himself. If the builder gets hurt on your property, that's actually their issue. It's the only time. But if somebody else gets injured on your property, college kid stumbles across on your property at nighttime and decides to play on some plank boards, that's on you, unfortunately. I know it sounds weird, but. And then let's go to the cost-effective part. Insurance companies always offer great discounts the newer the home, but many of them offer their absolute best rates for, and then there's 3 checkboxes. If you're the original owner of the house, if the home is brand new, i.e. 1 year or newer, and it was insured with them during the construction phase.
Oh, nice.
So a few carriers offer number 3. Every carrier offers it on number 2. Some carriers offer it on number 1. So if you're building a house, you get all 3 if you get insurance at that time. And then additional coverages. These are I think these might be out of order. I'm missing a slide, but that's okay. I don't actually remember what the slide was. Well, there was a really good slide. It had some anecdotes. It was funny. Told a story about me.
That was my favorite slide.
It was a good slide.
Snatched it.
So 3A is missing, but just imagine something epic. 3B is. Actually, let me go back here. I can tell you what it was. Peace of mind. Peace of mind. It was peace of mind. It offers you peace of mind. Additional coverages. These are things that are not included on a regular policy. So scheduled property is jewelry, water backup, identity theft protection, mortgage protection, flood, pets. Sewer line, and umbrella coverage. These are often add-ons to a policy, or they're their own separate policy. I don't know why pet is up there. It actually has nothing to do with. We offer pet insurance, but I don't know if I needed another symbol to make it. But yeah. This might be 3. So these are some carriers that you want to think about that provide one of those 3 builder's risk components. A little warning. many of you might have heard the insurance market is a little rocky right now. Carriers may have a coverage that they provide, and then tomorrow they don't have that coverage. And it's just the way the market is. I don't want to compare it to like interest rates on a mortgage, because you don't know when there's no sign. They just have internal data. Something's causing a loss, so they might at one point give up a builder's risk. Case in point, Airbnb endorsements, people who rented out Airbnb, we had like 4 companies that had them. Now we're down to 2, because the 3 companies that had them, they're like, we don't want to do this anymore, we're losing too much money. So that same thing can apply to builder's risk. So I wouldn't be jotting these down, because when you actually go to buy the house, none of these companies might have it, but 5 more might. So these are just examples of right now. And then if you have any questions, that's me. Oh, and I have a QR code.
Yes, you do.
Wow.
The experts that we're bringing in, I always learn something new. I'm in a different headspace, and so I know if you have any questions at all, they're hanging out. We'll also be here as well. Just wanted to kind of point out, obviously being in real estate, we're able to get at the forefront of any of your questions, concerns, especially when it comes to new construction. We'll be able to guide you through the process, represent you with fiduciary responsibilities throughout the duration of the process as well. And we are what drives that clear communication moving through the process as well. Because for you, we are here to push the ball forward and keep things moving. To get you where you need to be at the end of the day, which is in your new home.